He's the man Democrats have chosen to take on President Trump come November. But just what was Joe Biden's secret to winning the nomination? Hear how the former VP was able to unite party support by treating voters like the stupid slack-jawed Dumdums they know they are. And later, could breast milk be turning the nation's babies into toddlers? An OPR investigation sinks its teeth in and sucks out the truth. From The Onion and Onion Public Radio, I'm Leslie Price, and this is The Topical. We've got all the news you need to prepare yourself for a long day of fucking around instead of working from home. So stay with us. Now that the Democratic primary is coming to an end, political insiders are breaking down just how former Vice President Joe Biden was able to win the nomination in such a handedly fashion. And now a new poll from Monmouth University suggests that the elder statesman surged to the front of the pack so easily because he was the only candidate able to effectively talk down to the American people like the slack-jawed dum-dums they really are.
When he called that one voter a dog-faced pony soldier for asking him a question, I was like, yes, Joe Biden understands that the American people are all dumb donkeys and don't want a candidate willing to engage with them on any ideological or philosophical level. That's when I knew I was voting for him.
For more on why the Democratic primary shook out the way it did, we're joined now by OPR political correspondent Dirk Mullins. Hello, Dirk.
Hi, Leslie.
So what can you tell us about this new poll?
Well, it lays out a clear picture that Joe Biden was able to galvanize the Democratic Party by initially talking to them like they were imbeciles unworthy of sharing the same room with him. Take, for instance, an early encounter in Iowa when he called a voter a, quote, damn liar during a town hall. And then, shortly thereafter, he flat out told a voter to vote for someone else if they didn't like him.
And don't forget when he told that one auto worker in Detroit that he was full of shit when the voter tried questioning him.
Right. The poll found that the American people wanted to be a part of a political process that is consistently insulting to them. And Joe Biden offered them that path. Once he developed that baseline understanding, only then were voters more able to be open to his ideas, which they found comfortingly vague and forgettable.
So basically what you're saying is people were drawn to the same old bullshit.
Definitely. The poll made it clear that Joe Biden understood that the American voters' mental capacity was low and basically dripping with inferiority.
Yeah.
So he made sure to condescend to them and insult them both directly and indirectly at all times. And this political playbook worked to a T. Take this supporter, for example, who I met at a campaign rally in Michigan earlier this year.
Listen, I want a candidate who sees me and the millions of other Americans for the goddamn morons we are. And that candidate is Joe Biden. He knows that I don't want policies that are more than my little noodle brain can handle. Plus, when he lowers his voice and does that little fake soft speak to pretend like he cares about bringing the country together, it speaks right to the dense part of me that finds that bullshit genuine.
And did you consider any other candidates?
No, because when they talked, it made me think too much. But when Joe spoke, I could just zone out, start thinking about what I'm gonna eat for dinner.
Interesting. I know I never really think about Joe Biden, which makes my small piss brain feel better and more at ease.
Exactly. Americans want a president they don't have to think about. And the poll found they could envision themselves never thinking about Biden on a weekly or even monthly basis. Whereas with Trump, he's on your brain every fucking day. And with some other Democratic candidate, like a Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, they would require you to pay too much attention to too many policy changes and requests for political participation.
Ugh, God, you're right. People prefer to barely know who the president is.
Absolutely. And many other Biden supporters I spoke with felt the same way. Have a listen.
I knew I was voting for Biden after I went up to him at a town hall and I asked him, do you have a plan for tackling climate change? And he looked me right in the eye and reminded me that I'm an idiot who doesn't want to think about climate change or confront my role in it. Then he called me a dumb asshole and told me to go lick my cousin's dick. I like Joe.
And how about you, ma'am?
Yeah, I like that Biden doesn't insult my intelligence by pretending I'm smart and I'm actually seeking change. I'm dumb as horseshit, and so are all my family, friends, and neighbors. Joe Biden understands America.
Sir, please quit licking my microphone.
You what? This ain't ice cream?
So this leads me to ask, Dirk, what happened with candidates like Bernie Sanders who flamed out fast and quick early in the primaries after a promising start? Why couldn't he reach voters like the ones you talked to?
The poll found that he never really connected with a wide swath of voters, and of course, in order to win a primary, you have to convince a large amount of morons to vote for you, not just young lunatics.
Lesson learned for Sanders, something to remember for next time. Thanks for the report, Dirk.
Sure thing.
That's OPR's Dirk Mullins. Back in a moment. Here at OPR, we felt like today might be a good day to take a step back and discuss something we haven't heard much about lately. That's right, it's the coronavirus. And in recent weeks, health officials have managed to pinpoint the disease outbreak to a wet market in Wuhan, China. And now they've gone a step further. Thanks to some complex contact tracing, scientists believe they can say with relative certainty that the coronavirus originated in one particularly promiscuous bat. Here with the details is OPR's Marcy Hammond. Hi, Marcy.
Hi, Leslie. Experts say an exceptionally unchaste 4-year-old horseshoe bat with zero standards is responsible for spreading the coronavirus during the early stages of the pandemic. They claim the cave-dwelling libertine got around a lot. Like a lot. Here's Dr. Catherine Fisher, an epidemiologist at the CDC.
Even taking into account the fact that bats are non-monogamous, our findings indicate that this bat was kind of a tramp. It mated with hog-nosed bats, fruit bats, flying foxes, you name it, this bat banged it. And I want to emphasize that we're not trying to slut-shame, but this is an international health crisis, and the public deserves to know the truth.
Wow, sounds like the little guy was a slut even by bat standards.
He sure is, and top U.S. health officials agree, pointing out that as long as this bat was out fucking anything it could find, all the advanced preparation and preventative measures in the world couldn't have stopped this outbreak. This skank is really the one to blame here.
Sure. So what can scientists tell us about this flappy little fuckboy beyond the fact that it was a vector for the coronavirus?
Well, according to experts, COVID-19 may be the least of this bat's problems. Here's Dr. Fisher again.
This flying floozy did not practice safe sex in any capacity, which is crazy considering all the nasty stuff it probably picked up. We know for a fact that it didn't wear a condom, so it was out there for weeks, raw-dogging anything with a pulse, even while it was showing symptoms of COVID-19. Again, no judgment on the amount of fucking. We're just upset about the disregard for the health and safety of the colony.
So this bat was getting nasty all up and down the cave system.
That's correct.
You'd think it would have used the skin on its wing as a makeshift dental dam. That's what I would do. It's really thin.
Yeah, there's really no excuse for this bat's reckless behavior.
Now, has the CDC said what steps they intend to take now that they've identified those responsible for the original spread of coronavirus?
Well, Dr. Fisher says the bat has been ordered to self-quarantine, which they hope will both flatten the curve and keep it from getting any other bats pregnant. Because according to Dr. Fisher, a bunch of pregnant bats is the last thing we need during a pandemic. They're also expecting to provide more guidance later this week for any college students who may have come into contact with the bat during spring break.
Wow. Well, we'll be sure to check back with you on this. Thank you, Marcy.
Thank you, Leslie.
That's OPR's Marcy Hammond. It's a low whispering voice that calls you outside in the middle of the night without your mask on. We've all heard it, but today health officials are warning this alluring voice could be the coronavirus. For more on how we can continue to flatten the curve despite this voice calling us to come out and play is OPR's chief medical correspondent, Jenna Resnick. Good morning, Jenna.
Hi, Leslie.
Now, of course, everyone is eager to get on with our normal routines again, but it seems like maybe we jumped the gun a bit here. What can you tell us about this report?
Well, today, the Center for Disease Control put out a statement reminding citizens to not let their guards down and to continue not answering the bewitching call of any voices right outside our windowsill.
And how will you know if it's the voice of the coronavirus or just the callings of a dead family member or long-lost lover?
To clarify, the CDC released captured audio of the coronavirus's call, which could sometimes sound like this.
Come with me, my son. It's okay not to wash your hands. Come with me to the movie theater. Come with me to Applebee's.
Or even sometimes like this.
Come to the grocery store and cough on the cans. Like a stranger.
But the CDC did acknowledge that the voice could come in other forms, like a song sung by school children or through the cries of a widowed hag. So advised Americans to assume all voices billowing in through the cracks of your home is the novel virus.
Well, that is a little different, right? Because last week, the CDC said this restriction only applies to voices that used your own name and spoke of your most inner desires. For example, the other night I heard a voice telling me to go walk down the sidewalk and put all my neighbors' doorknobs in my mouth. So I did it because the whispers never once used my name or mentioned my most inner desire to have Kathy Najimy slap me naked and raw with dead fish. So you're telling me now that I shouldn't have done that?
Well, according to the CDC, you could have actually been tricked by the coronavirus. So any and all voices coming to you during the enchanted mood telling could be COVID-19.
Well, if every voice burrowing into your psyche late at night could be contagious, how can our listeners protect themselves?
I had the same question, so I spoke to CDC Deputy Director Raphael Cady. Here's Raphael.
We highly recommend bolting your door with several heavy locks and pushing a dinner table or piano in front of it in order to stop yourself from running outside at the voice's beguiling call. And some people have reported simply stuffing all orifices with garlic heads and clothes has successfully staved off any coronavirus spirits.
Are there any groups at a particularly high risk?
Reporting suggests that those above the age of 50 are up to 4 times more likely to hear the echoing refrain of their long-lost sweetheart, but even those as young as 12 can be afflicted. During their press conference, the CDC played a chilling audio file from a young girl's room to show that the voices of the coronavirus do not discriminate. Take a listen.
Cammy, it's Mr. Nuts the hamster. I miss you. Why didn't you ever come visit me after I choked on a wood chip and Daddy flushed me down the toilet? Maybe I'm in your neighbor's toilet.
What a crafty pathogen. I know if it was me, I'd be knee-deep in a septic tank looking for Mr. Nuts as we speak.
That's why the CDC wants Americans to be on guard until this pandemic relents.
Don't be fooled, or you'll wake up in your driveway one morning, covered in sweat, with a fever of 102, licking every surface around you.
Sound advice, and some advice I should take as someone who's been waking up every morning with my wet tongue on a new surface that doesn't belong to me. Thanks for the report, Jenna.
You bet.
That's OPR's Jenna Resnick. In trying times such as these, it's important to remember that even in the face of all this, we at least still have the news. Here's what else you need to know today. Republican politicians across Capitol Hill are ridiculing Democrats for caring about sexual assault as little as they do. Conservative Congress members and surrogates alike all mused at how fascinating it was that, despite billing themselves as so high and mighty on the issue, Democrats were willing to overlook credible sexual assault testimony for their own gain, noting that they are all, quote, just as cynically power-hungry as we are. And New York is officially shutting down the city's subway system overnight to disinfect the rats. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the new sanitation measures at a press conference today, stating that the closures will continue to take place each night until every rat in the subway tunnels is properly scrubbed and cleaned. And Kansas has unveiled a new 50,000 square foot Bless This Mess border mat to welcome those entering and exiting the state. Kansas representatives are hopeful that the $1.5 million welcome mat will not only match the state's farmhouse chic style, but also bring good homey vibes to anyone who visits. Well, that's it for the Topical today. I'm Leslie Price. And look, I didn't want to say anything earlier, but one of you out there listening really needs to start thinking about showering more regularly. Look, I know we're all stuck at home, and I didn't want to embarrass you in front of everyone at the top of the show, but you were stinking it up the whole podcast, and now it's kind of lingering. So before you come back and listen to tomorrow's episode, how about taking a bath, huh? And keep doing it at least every other day because, God damn. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Woo! Damn! I gotta open a window. The news doesn't stop just because this YouTube video has. For even more on all the worst things happening in the world right now, listen and subscribe to The Topical on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you insatiable news freaks.